Hello again. Welcome to week 1. Yeah, we are very excited to see your work. Yeah, you've done a great job during the week. It was amazing to see like how you progressed from having nothing in the app and now having this amount of functionality already. So great job, everyone. Just to give you like a quick recap of our agenda, we will have demos presented by you. Then Kevin will present a learning module about pair programming. And finally, issues.
Code review.
Code reviews. Sorry.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, code review.
I saw the X and I was like, what is that for? And I'm like, oh, right. Got you.
And finally, issues for the coming week. So yeah, as you know, we meet once a week, and this is very precious time for all of us. And doing demos is also a great practice for your job search, for your portfolios. You can use these recordings for your portfolios to show recruiters and the companies that you apply for. Yeah, we are really looking forward to it. Who wants to go first?
Unfortunately, I have a bit of an issue with my with the code, so I pulled everything down, but unfortunately it's not working on my end, so I just did that. So I have a blank screen, so I'm not sure what happened. So
I was thinking I had a blank screen too, and I just changed the shape of the screen and everything showed up in the lower left corner. Like if you kind of just move your window around, like, do you see it? Because I was expecting to see things at the top and they weren't at the top.
Then who were you paired with, Claire?
Sahi.
You can also go to the production site. I'll drop the link in the chat and you could demo there in production.
Wonderful.
Or Eddie or Nadinda?
Yeah, we can go first if that helps.
Perfect.
Okay, so I will share my screen. So I'm going to be sharing today. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I think Nadinda is going to talk a little bit through the ticket and how we built the code.
Yes. Can I actually control your cursor right now?
Yeah, we talked about this. let me give you control.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, me and Abby had a chance to pair program last week, and we got this issue or like ticket, and we had to install Firebase and React Firebase hooks, and then we have to sort of connect the Firestore that the Collab Lab team already set up for us, and then just basically we want to add an item to a collection, and then that will be stored into the Firestore database. That's basically what our ticket for the first week is. And so I think we can jump to the code now. I don't know where you're.
Okay, I realized this would be an issue. One sec.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you very much. So in our main app.js file, as we can see here, we already created 2 components. One is called show list, and the second one is called create item. And then this to the show list component, let's go to the, nope, that's not one. That not correct. So just this one. Okay. So in this show list component, we are trying to show a collection or a list of items that we created. And then we want to store basically 3 return value of the Firebase use collection hooks, I think it's called, yeah. And then from there, we use it here as a conditional rendering. So if the return value is an error, that means we show an error, just a plain text for now. And then if the return value is loading, and then we show loading screen. And then if returns a value, then we show the value itself. And so let's move to the create item component. Here we have just one button for now. It's called create item, and we create a function to be the handle click. And we call the Firebase function here, and then add a document, which is, for now, it consists of name and date. Yes, this is just dummy data for now, but it's just to show that it's working, the Firebase. And yeah, I think that's basically it. And now we're gonna move to Abby, and she's gonna explain about Firebase in detail. So yeah,
So we obviously had the Firebase config already set up for us. So what we've put together is we basically just imported it as it was set up. And, oh, sorry, I think I stopped sharing my screen. Can you see again?
yes.
Okay, great. So we've imported Firebase to both of these components at the top. So it links into our Firebase Firestore, which you can see over here. Sorry, my share screen panel is getting in the way.
Oh, Zoom does that all the time.
It's like I can't switch all my tabs right. Can I switch it to a different place? Does anyone know how to do
You should
it?
be able to drag it somewhere else.
Okay.
Or you can use the arrow. There is an arrow you can use to send it down.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay, I've managed to drag it out of the way. That's fine. So this is the Firestore that we are linking into. For this demo, I've cleared the collection, but because of the way that our code is set up, the collection will be created when an item is added. So Firestore is just going to use the collection name that we've put in the collection function of items. And when we add an item, it's just going to use the add method of collection to add an item with the data that we've put in here. And then again with show list, like Nadinda said, we've used the use collection hook here. So that use collection hook is it's pulling down all of the items, all of the documents in that collection of items, and then it's returning the values in the returned value here. And that keeps updated constantly as well. So it's using the React state, and whenever a new document is added to the Firestore database, it's going to show it as a new list item in this list. So what that would look like for a user is we have our app here. Obviously, a user would want to see what they have in their shopping list. So at the moment, there's nothing there. But as soon as they add a new item with the create item button, then that item is added instantly into their shopping list. So the list is going to show real-time updates. Obviously, at the moment, they all just have the same data, but it shows that it works for adding however many items you want to add. So if I add a few more, again, they show up straight away. So that's pretty much it for what it means for the user experience. I think it's just a case of sharing what we've learned from it.
Yes, I think for like as a conclusion, we want to share a bit of what we learned so far. And for me, I used React back in those days, like 2 years in 2019, and React hooks wasn't a thing yet. So that's really new to me. And Abby taught me a lot for that. And then we also learned about the conditional rendering with the, I think Luca mentioned it's called short circuit. And yeah, that was pretty cool. We look at the Firebase documentation, and that's the code example, and we want to try it straight away. And of course, the Firebase, I haven't used Firebase before, so that's also new to me. And yeah, that's basically it from me. And so what's yours, Abby?
Yeah, a lot of the same that you spoke about. Firebase, I've never used it before. I've used a different document database, but it was really cool to see how Firebase and Firestore works, especially the built-in hooks functions. I learned a lot about Git and branches and what can go wrong and how to fix it. I made a mistake like pretty early on. So that was a really good learning experience. And finally, I just learned a lot about pair programming. So I'd not done it before. I wasn't really sure what you were supposed to do, but fortunately Nadinda had. So she talked to me about some of the different ways that we could do it. And we tried out this new plugin for VS Code that allowed us to work off the same screen. And it was just a really good experience. So yeah.
I love this demo because of how you shared the responsibilities and kind of went back and forth. I love the flow of showing the ticket and then the code and then the functionality. I love that you shared what you learned. I mean, it's so amazing. It's really great. I have one question, which it's just out of my own curiosity, which is right here in this show list thing. Those 3 values, are they guaranteed to only ever have one of them be truthy and the other 2 are always falsy, if you know what I mean? So like, would it ever be possible to be showing both the error and the loading state as an example, or are we guaranteed to only ever show one of the 3?
I would have to look into the documentation more. Maybe someone else knows the answer. I know that loading and value don't show at the same time because it does very briefly show loading before it shows the list. But I imagine that it would be the same for error. But I'm sure anyone else who knows a bit more would be able to tell me.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well, but I was just curious because it might have implications for how you word your error message or something like that. But yeah, great job on the demo overall. It's amazing.
Cool.
I was going to say all of those same things. I'm just going to echo that demo was so beautiful and brilliant. I love, love, love that it seemed like you split the demo so perfectly. And that's like one of the biggest goals out of these Collab Lab demos is giving everybody the opportunity to demo the code, demo the UI, talk about what you learned. So this was like a beautiful example of how that can be done. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I loved the demos, and especially the last part was also amazing to share what you learned. That was really, really amazing. I had one question in terms of Firestore. Would it be possible to show us like in live when you add an item to your app, how it shows up in the console? The
Oh yeah, like have the
we
two windows side by
that,
side.
We planned that.
Yeah, we did actually, and then we forgot about it. So let me drag that out. And this one here. Okay. So is this the best way to show the console, do you think? The Firestore console?
This looks good.
Okay. There we go. So that's one item. One sec, let me just full screen it so I can get to the right place. Items, okay. So this should show up properly now. So if there's 3 items at the moment, and if we add an item, yeah, there we go. And it shows up in the console. Okay, that's great.
Awesome.
Cool. Cool. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'd like to ask about is that so because I was reviewing some of the Firebase thing, though I'm new, but I was like doing research to understand how it is, and I found the tool you should use is called React Firebase hook, I guess. So I was like, does it replace the use effect thing? Because I know when we are pulling data from Firebase, we have to set a way that will like wait some time before the data come in. Like, is it there? That's why I use collection function, or I just want to know. Thanks.
So I've not used the use effect hooks with Firebase before.
Yeah, I don't have experience prior to, so
I think if you are asking if this package includes like use effect while doing the fetching, I think the library actually, or the package actually like includes that function. So when you do like use collection in the background, that's also doing like use effect hook process.
Okay, so that's how they've built their custom hook then, is they've used use effect in that and it's doing it for you.
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But
yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
I would guess too, Zeshe, it sounded like you were like, when you're like, it's going to wait a certain amount of time before it does something. I imagine as well inside that hook in that package, they're using some sort of async await to wait for that data to be fetched before it resolves. So hidden behind the scenes somewhere, I bet that's there. You can probably find it if you dig deep enough into their repo and document.
All right.
Great question though. I love that deeper thinking about how does this package work? How does this hook that we're not in charge of work? Sometimes I feel like when you go out and work in a dev role somewhere and you're thinking about bringing on a third-party package, you will need to dig in deeper to make sure that the code that's written there that you're going to be using is sound. So I like that higher level thinking that you're doing. It's brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
any other questions? Yeah, we can. Really amazing job. It was lovely to see your work, and then your demos were absolutely amazing. Technical part as well as the showing the UI. So thank you so much for doing that. Sashi or Claire, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, it's our turn now. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I think you can see my screen. All right. So this was our issue. We were supposed, first we're working actually on front end side, where someone could navigate between list view and add view, so that the interface is clearly delimited between view. Like once you click on list view, you have this view from the list, and also once you click on add view, you go to the other page. So I'll be passing, like I'm going to pass through the codes, then Claire will also show you with front end side. So, so this is also what we have done. We have created two components. There was this create item view, and there is also show list view. Let me say like that, like the one who should show the list in UI or in front end. So as you can see, our component called the create item, we have in this div, we should render also an H1 with add view text, right? So once we are rendering this component, we should have this add view in our like front end side. And also the other component is show list, because there are two components. Show list, there's this logic for Firebase thing, but for us, we added the H1 which say list view, like in front end, you should be able to see the list view. So when we came here in app.js, where is like most of the magic is, we have used this tool called React Router DOM here, and the React Router DOM provides us this switch, route, and nav link. So once, what is going to help us is like they're going to help us to switch between the like the views, right? Different pages. So as you can see, we have these two, let me say maybe navigation, because they are those links you click on, right? So once you click on it, first of all, you have this style of bold. Like currently, if I click on list view, there'll be this style which will be applied to my link. This is the link. Thank you to Kevin for the feedback. I really love, like I've learned a lot from Navlink and Link, the way they are different. I really thanks to Kevin and Lucas. So every time you see now, we have also the slash list view and slash add view, which will be connected. Like once I click on the certain route, the route which shows the list view will be connected to this navigation or this link here, so that I will be able to render this component of show list, because I need to see what is in show list component, which is up here, and create item component. So that means every time I click either to list view, I will see something which I will see this component of list view, I mean show list, which we like render. And we remember that what we'll be able to render from the list view is this show list, is this text of list view. Then once I click on down here on create item, I'll be able to render this component also, which is like add view. So at localhost, you can see we will also be able to render home, and at like without going to certain path, like specific path, I mean home. So what will be rendered will be a home component, and the home component, all we have is just this home text. So that's like what we did in code. If like you guys get it, I think my colleague Claire can go on with the UI. Maybe let me help her to run it so that you can see.
Thanks, Achi.
Welcome. Just a sec. Just kind of going slow, but I think there's some.
So can I, so are you willing to let me sort of use your screen, or shall I share mine?
Yeah, if you have it, because I see mine is like going slow, so I can stop
Sure.
and
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the. It's so odd.
You can use the link that Stacy shared.
I had
the
it
chat.
open, but it's gone. Bear with me, please.
No worries.
I've just popped the link in the chat. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, that's perfect. If I can find the chat. Oh yeah. Thank you, Abby. Oh no.
Zoom UI when you're sharing is the worst. So hard to find the chat sometimes if you're sharing.
Yeah, that's so true. So I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So obviously the UI is still very simple. So you've got your 2 links at the bottom of the screen. So this is what the user would obviously see. So you can already sort of notice that the add view link is in bold. When you switch between the links, the one that is active will become bold, and the other one will revert to sort of its normal state. And the active link will also change the URL to sort of corresponding to the corresponding component, which you can see here. What else? Yeah, what was quite cool is that I tried to practice myself. So I made sort of a mock-up of this this functionality by myself because I just wanted to understand. And I used use state in first instance, which I nearly got there. So what I mean is I used use state to get to this sort of functionality of clicking between the links and the links becoming, or the link that is active becoming bold, and then reverting once it's non-active. So I used use state, nearly got there. And then I was pair coding with Sahi, and he had a really cool thing of, he used, I think, complete CSS, which worked. I'd never seen that before. But then we learned about, what was it? Active style in the nav link, which was very short and very efficient. So yeah, those are some of the things that I learned this week. And yeah, it's that's all I have to offer at this point. So yeah, thank you for listening.
I love that each of you like basically kind of like implemented that functionality of, you know, which link is bold in different ways, and it's probably some of that stuff is internal to Navlink. Like that's like they probably use state in there, some CSS and whatever to do that implementation. And you both kind of got there part of the way, and then found like, oh, well, it's kind of built in, so we'll just use that one, which is actually a really smart decision. So nice job.
Thanks.
Agree. I love that. It sounds like you all did some amazing exploring. So fantastic. Proud of you.
Yeah, great job. I wanted to ask one more thing. So I saw that you have also home route. Would you mind showing us that route as well? Probably that's just a slash, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you.
I wonder though, for the app itself, how would the home routes, would the user have access to the home route at all, or is it just the two links? Because I saw the links at the bottom, and yeah, there were only 2. So I was wondering, will they have access to?
You want to answer that? I can answer that.
Go ahead. Yes.
So it's a great question, and this week's issues are actually going to kind of address that. So, you know, when a user, you know, if you had an end user, you would have you know, just the domain name. They would come to that route, and there's the next story that we'll talk about at the end of today's call is that if you come in there and you don't have a token, we need to create a token for you, and then you're taken to the list. If you do have a token, the app will sort of forward you on to the list of items. So yeah, the users will normally only encounter this home screen sort of once as they use the app.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, as I would say it was not necessary to have it in this week, the home road, but it will definitely be helpful for the next issues.
Thank you. Shall I unshare? Shall I? Yeah, I'll
I actually I would like to say to add something for real. This was the first week for us, but it was very interesting. Like you do something thinking that it's correct, and when a mentor gives you feedback, you're like, no, like yeah, like it'd be like, so this is, you start now going and start things from the beginning and have to fulfill what like the mentor asks you to do. So it was very interesting, and you see things in different ways. So it's very amazing for sure.
Oh my gosh, Zashay, that's like my every day at work. Like you'll be on a roll and you'll be like, I did the thing and it works really great and it's wonderful. And then I'll send it over to like one of our senior engineers, like, can you take a look at this code? And they're like, well, this works, but here's a much better way you should do it. And you learn so much from it. And use that opportunity to like really dig and ask them questions about why, because not only does it help you learn, but it helps them learn too, because a lot of these senior engineers haven't had to explain this stuff in a very long time. So use that time to learn and ask questions. I love it.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you guys took the feedback. It was just a nudge, and y'all were like, okay, here it is. Here's our next couple of commits. Done. And I was like, wow, okay, look at this. Completely done.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it was amazing to see all the PRs closed, everything merged perfectly, and ready for production mode. You know, so amazing job, everyone. Yeah, so if nobody has any questions, we can move forward with the learning module that Kevin will present.
All right.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm gonna, when I was running through this, it took quite a bit longer than I think it probably should. There's so much to say about code review, but I'll try to hit the highlights and then answer questions. So this should work. You should see my screen. Yep. That's spoilers. All right, so we're gonna talk about code reviews, and this is gonna be like a broad overview of code reviews, some best practices and so forth. But whenever you arrive at your team, everybody has kind of like their own little flavor of it, their own little take of it. And you're going to learn what works for you and what works for your team. And so this is going to be like the 80% of the way to get you there. And then you're going to just discover everything on your own as you get experience doing code reviews. So we're going to go over this in 6 pieces. We have what is a code review, the code review cycle, what makes a code review a great code review, how can I help others review my code, how can I review others' code, and then we'll do a little exploring of code in GitHub. I almost said GitLab, and then I do most of my work in GitLab. So what is a code review? It's a conversation. As you guys saw, we're asking questions of each other, we're answering questions, we're going back and forth saying like, what's going on here? Or like, hey, this is a thing, what do you think about this? Just like you would in any kind of normal conversation in person, but it's, we have to write it all out. And you can append it or like comment on a specific line of code, which gives it a little more context. And it's one of the best spaces to share knowledge and learn from others. We got to move the thing out of the way. And so one of the things that we say at 1Password is that whenever you do a code review and you open a merge request there, but like a PR here, that description and all of the comments and discussion on it is documentation. So when you're 2 years down the road and you're looking at a line of code and you're like, what, why, how, what is going on? And then you look at it and you realize, oh my goodness, like I wrote this line of code. You can go look, you can find that commit, you can find the PR where you had all the conversation and why you actually did the thing that you did. And that is super, super valuable. I lean on that all the time and in investigating different things and why something is the way it is. And it can inform how you build something in the future. The code review is a collaboration space. Yeah, obviously we share your work, you ask your questions. It helps you improve as a developer. So like when you are reviewing other people's code, you're gonna learn something. Every time I review somebody else's code, there's like one little thing that I'm like, what? and I have to ask them the question and I learn so much every time. So yeah, just reading the code and getting reviews from other people, you're gonna learn so much. And then it helps your team, right? So it decentralizes the knowledge by having all this documentation available to anyone at any time. We share the responsibility. So, you know, when you're writing code, you don't feel like you're the only one who is making any decision around how this thing is going to be implemented. You have a bunch of people come in and they're helping you build confidence in the changes that you're going to make. And then you have improving your code base quality. So everybody's helping each other, you know, make sure that we're merging in high quality code. Oops, okay. So here's the code review cycle. Did I skip a slide? What is this? Oh no. There we go. Okay, no. So this is generally speaking, the broad strokes of a code review cycle. So you open a pull request, you get feedback, you make changes, you do that a bunch of times until finally you have a bunch of green lights from everybody, and then you hit merge and it gets into master and you just feel fantastic. Sometimes there's a couple of extra pieces in there, like there might be some pipelines that need to pass and tests that need to happen and so forth. And there's like automation and all this cool stuff. But for the most part, this is basically what happens. So what makes a code review a great code review? So the first thing is don't focus on stylistic changes. And what that means is like some people put their semicolons or, you know, or they don't put semicolons, or they put their curly braces on a new line and they're just like wild cowboys out there. And what you do is you run a tool like Prettier or ESLint, and it just says, write your code how you want to write it. And then when you hit save, it will just auto format it for you. And then you can commit that, and you don't, and that way the entire code base has the same format. Yeah, and so whenever you're reviewing, you don't want to focus on things like, oh, you missed a semicolon here, you should add a space here, or you're definitely don't want to get into the tabs versus spaces things. Just don't even go there. And then, yeah, this one, D, you're calling to uppercase on a number. I would flag that as a problem, but maybe JavaScript's a different world. So yeah, one of the first things I do is I will bring the branch down locally, run it, make sure it builds, and then, you know, test it. Or sometimes you have a test environment. I think we have that set up as well, so you can, it just automatically deploys and you can test it out and run it. One of the big things to think about is, am I going to understand this code a month from now? So you want to make sure that you're not using things like I, like the variable name I for everything, or in or X, because that doesn't give you any context. I never really shy away from being more explicit with my variable names. Try not to get too long. Sometimes it happens. Oh, there's a crazy chat going on.
You can ignore us. It's fine.
Okay. It's like somebody's trying to flag me. Make sure you say this. Yeah. So you want to make sure that when you're reviewing it, that it's comprehensible and it's not too abstract. You know, simpler code, readable code is much preferable than clever code or something that is just takes advantage of something you know, a little bit esoteric, I guess. So anyways, we're in the bolded section now. And so the first bolded point is to praise, always praise. Give some praise in however way you can. It's important because we're all communicating over, you know, written text and all that, and that can come across as really mean. So always include a little bit of like, this and this and this did really, really well. I have a comment about this. Here's a smiley face, just so you know I'm extra okay with this conversation. And that way, whenever you read it, you're not thinking like this person's yelling at me. And so we're all doing, there's always something good about something. There's always something that works. And then there's just maybe something that you have some feedback on or a suggestion or something. The next point is default to approval. And this is a little more contextual, but the basic gist of it is a lot of people work asynchronously and in different time zones. And if like somebody writes some code and they ask you to review it and they go to bed and then you review it and you're like, this and this and this needs to change, and they're not that big of a deal, but you don't approve it, then they have to wait like a whole nother cycle, a whole nother day for you to like come back and approve it. So if they're just like simple changes, you can go ahead and approve it and just say like, hey, this looks really good. Here's a couple of suggestions. If you don't mind, just, you know, knocking them out before you hit merge. And then that way they can move on, they're unblocked and you can go forth. If you have something that is a little more substantial, I mean, don't be afraid to withhold your approval. Yeah, it's just, if it's something really simple, then you can go ahead and give an approval and just let them take care of it. You know, you're trusting each other to make sure that it's, you know, they're not going to just YOLO something into the main. So yeah, be kind and empathetic, understand where they're coming from, be kind, use emojis, all that stuff loops back into praise. And so, yeah, help others understand your changes. We'll talk about that here next. But basically you want to write as much as you can in your description and even comment your own code if you feel like that's necessary, and be like, I know people are going to ask about this weird thing I did. Here's why I did it. And then as people like ask questions and so forth, try to answer everything and take your time. Don't rush through it. That's important. Don't rush. Like I said, run the code. It gives you confidence. So like I'm sure you guys did, you brought the branch down, you ran the code, and you clicked around and found all the cool things about it, and maybe some things that you were like, oh wait, if I click here and stand on one leg and I like drink a glass of water, it turns red. It shouldn't do that. So we should code for that. And yeah, weird things happen. So if you can actually click around it and so forth, it gives you some confidence. And yeah, like I just said, it helps you find things that you wouldn't from just reading the code. Don't be tempted to skip running it and just say LGTM or looks good to me with obligatory thumbs up. Make sure you follow the process. It's really important. I've personally gotten nipped from skipping steps and just being like, this is a one-line change, it looks good, and then you don't run it locally, and then they merge it into main, and it ends up like, you know, resulting in some kind of rollback or something. Then that's not a fun situation. So the next thing is your PR should include instructions on how to run the code. And sometimes there's a little bit of setup that needs to happen. Sometimes it's a complex change, or it's a change in a part of the application that requires you to like configure all these different things correctly and get your application in a certain state before you can test it. So write all that out. Don't make people guess for it. And if you're reviewing it, look at that. It'll help. And, you know, obviously, if you're not sure, ask questions. It's always a great learning opportunity. So how can I help others review my code? Make sure you add a meaningful PR description, like we were talking about. You know, it's documentation. Write your thoughts, everything that you think that you were thinking about. Sometimes I even include, here's some things that I tried, and here's why I decided not to go with them. And you know, all of that stuff is really useful for when somebody else is reviewing it and they're going, why didn't they try this other thing? Well, they can just read the description and read and see like, oh, you actually did try it. You went down that path. It didn't work. Okay, cool. If possible, write very meaningful commit messages. So when you're committing your code, one of the things that you want to try to do is write or commit one cohesive single small chunk of changes at a time, and then put some description on it that is very like explicit about what happened. And so you can say like, add new module called this, or you know, whatever makes sense in the context that you're in. And that really helps, because when you're going back through the commits to find something, you can read the commit messages and be like, oh, that's the one I'm looking for. Very helpful. So when you put up a PR, review your own code first before somebody else does. A lot of times you'll find that you left a comment in there that you didn't need, or you had some like print statement that you left in there for debugging and you forgot to take it out. You can catch all that stuff before somebody else points it out to you and they're like, why'd you do that, you dummy? Nobody calls you dummy, I promise. But yeah. Yeah, so like I said, you can even ask questions on your pull request. So like you can go to a line and say, I'm a little I'm not too confident in this line. Can somebody help me out here? Is this the right way to do it? And somebody will come along and be like, okay, you have a question about this specific line. I should look at this and give you a proper like answer, a thoughtful answer, and so forth. And then use some screen capturing tools. They help a ton. I haven't used any of these. I use something called Cap or Get Cap. I think a couple of you guys saw me capturing a couple of things in like a little GIF format where I was like, hey, it's doing this. And it's really cool to see like a screen capture or like a GIF or something of the feature that you wrote in the actual PR description. So when you say, hey, I made these changes, here's what it looks like. And that it's very nice. It's really cool to see that. So yeah, we're gonna explore some code in GitHub. As you guys already probably figured out, a lot of this stuff you can go to the files tab and see what files were changed. It tells you how many were changed there, how many commits were made. Oh my goodness, there's almost 800 lines of code that were added and only 10 that were taken away. This is clearly a new feature. And you can just mentally prepare yourself for what's ahead. And yeah, you can go in and check things out, and you can go commit by commit if you like, which I do a lot. It's very helpful to see the progression of how somebody added a feature over time. And if they write their commits in a way that are like very scoped, narrowly scoped blocks of changes, you can go from commit to commit and almost read it like a story to see how they came to the end result. It's a really awesome thing to be able to do. And then, oh yeah, this is really, really cool. It's super handy. So we have this viewed thing. And when you're reviewing code, each file, after you get done looking at it and you're like, okay, this code I'm totally okay with, you can mark it as viewed. And what that does is it collapses it down, gets it out of your way. You don't have to think about it anymore. You can still refer back to it, but it tells GitHub that you've already viewed it. So when you come back to it and the code has changed, it'll unmark it as viewed and make it so that like it's very obvious that you need to look at this file again because it has changed since the last time that you looked at it. And I do that all the time. It's very handy. So I guess real quick, we can jump over here and do a little bit of poking around. I'm not super familiar with GitHub, but it's generally, they have a lot of generally the same stuff here. So you can see, obviously we have the very first part of the conversation is the description of everything. And then all the description going down, or the comments and so forth. This is where you can look at commit by commit. So it starts with the oldest up top. And then as you go down, it'd be like reading a story, And so you can come in here and click on this very first one. And you can see I've already viewed some of these. And you can say like, okay, we added some stuff here. We added some in this file. You can see like, what was the first step that was taken? And so you can come in here and say, all right, well, okay, this looks cool. They stubbed out a bunch of stuff here. Yeah, they're probably gonna need this later. All right, so let's see what happens when we go to the next one. And you can comment on it as you're going through it, like, what is this? What's going on? Or a compliment. And you could say like, oh, okay, yeah, see, here's this is what it was from the last commit, and they changed it to this. Perfect, great. I could see they're just stubbing things out. They're getting it to work. And so now I can kind of like follow their journey through actually building this thing. So here we have some, I believe these are some like your pipelines and your automation and so forth, which, could be handy in some cases. And here's your files change. So this is like, instead of going commit by commit, this is your latest, most up-to-date view of all of the files that have been changed. And so you can go in and mark things viewed and so forth, and check it out, comment, all the same stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I think the next one is, what do you guys think? Share your thoughts. What was your experience in the past with code reviews? How did it feel to do code reviews this week? How has it felt over the last week or in your previous experience? Share some thoughts.
Maybe I can share one. I think this was my first time to do like teamwork and do pull requesting. But one of something very amazing is the way of like how GitHub is so powerful, and the way someone would review your code, and the time he's giving you feedback will also like share you like a resource that's going to help you. So it'd be like, this way might be a good one, but check on this documentation, is going to help you. So that's really like make easier for someone who is going like to change things the way you want, and also give him like open mind, like, oh, this is the other way. So it's so great, and I had a good like enjoyed that process. Thanks.
Cool. Anybody else?
I think I felt a little bit nervous. It's the first time I've reviewed anyone else's code, so I think like I made a couple of comments on Claire and Zashi's codes, but yeah, it's because I'm still quite new myself, you sort of feel like, am I just making this comment because I'm new and I don't fully understand this, or do I actually have something meaningful to contribute here? So I suppose that's just a little bit of imposter syndrome that I encountered.
I think that's probably pretty ubiquitous, and everybody feels that way. And it's honestly, I would say, err on the side of asking your question, because you'll find that, I mean, maybe it's a simple answer, or maybe you're asking a question about an assumption that they made and they don't really know why it is that they did, and it kind of allows you to dig into it a little bit deeper and find something. So yeah, definitely err on the side of questions. Nobody's like, another question. Oh my goodness. What, keyboard flip, you know, just nobody's doing that.
Yeah,
At least nobody I know.
That's like, that was one of my things starting out doing code reviews too, is I was supposed to be code reviewing for like more senior level engineers. And I'm like, I obviously have nothing to give them here. I don't know what I'm doing. How am I gonna give them feedback on this code? And so a really great way to start, just like you were doing, is go in and just ask questions. And that question can be as simple as, can you tell me more about what this piece of code does? And like I was mentioning before, not only do you learn, but they learn too. So keep the questions coming. Normalize asking any kind of question. It doesn't have to be some big, deep, inspiring question. It can just be, tell me more.
It's not something that you only do when you're early in your career either. It's going to happen the rest of your career, because there's always going to be some new tool that people are integrating, or some new pattern that people want to use, or whatever. And so you're going to be asking questions forever. So just get used to it and keep doing it. It's a great way to learn.
Cool.
Yeah, initially, code reviewing is also very new to me. And initially I thought that, you know, different groups just write their code and everybody sort of, you know, trusts the other groups to do the right thing. And then they all bring together their code and then it works. That's what I thought. So when I had to do my code review, I thought, okay, I'll just read it through. And then because I didn't want to sort of hold back the other team, I thought, well, I'll just quickly review it and then give the okay. And then that's that. But then, yeah, of course, this week, I learned otherwise, that it is a process and you have to be, as thorough as you can, I think. So that was, it was enlightening.
Claire, you bring up a really great point too, that like, you do go work on your own code, right? Like you worked on code, the other pair worked on code, but it brings such a rich insight to your code reviews, because there's stuff that you're working on that might be really relevant to the stuff they're working on. So as you're reading through their code, you might have extra comments about things that they've never even seen because they're in your code that hasn't been merged yet. So you can be like, oh, this is a really great, you know, line of code or whatever. This is how this could work with the code we're getting ready to merge, but we might want to watch out because there could be some merge conflicts here, or just like ways to apply the insight that you've gained from the code you've written for the project to their code review. So excellent work.
Yeah, it informs your thought process and the code that you're making. So you might see what somebody else is doing. Oh, they're doing it that way. That's really, really cool. I'm gonna do something over here that's gonna support that, or you might change something that you're doing to help with that.
I'm a big proponent too of if you're doing a code review and you're approving someone else's code, you're taking almost equal responsibility for that code when it goes out as the person who wrote it. So, you know, it's a serious responsibility in a kind of a production setting. You know, if you've looked at it, you're, you know, like you share responsibility now with that person if it breaks production or something like that. Or, you know, if it does this amazing thing for users, like you can kind of share in that win as well.
Cool. Anybody else want to share? Not got this. I think we'll link this later, so you can check out all these links later. But yeah, some further reading if you want to know more about code reviews. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of opinions and practices and all kinds of stuff. You'll learn, there's so much to learn about it. So yeah, there's a place to start.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thanks for the presentation. I know that Bella has to go soon, but Bella, if you want to take on the issues, otherwise, if you have to go soon, I could continue at some point, but feel free to.
Yeah, I can take the issues for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm sharing my screen. Oh, 1 sec. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. So for this week, we are going to have 2 other issues. The first issue is the number 3. As a user, I want to set up a new shopping list so I can start tracking purchased items. And here is more information about the task. So it's going to be a shopping list that consists of a set of items associated with the user's token. You are going to create a new list consisting of the following sequence. So you will generate a new unique token. You are going to save this token to the local storage, and you are going to show the user the list view. The following script should be used to generate a token that is in the source library tokens.js. And the requirements are the ones below. So for users who do not already have a token, a list, a button or link exists on the home screen that allows them to create a new list. Clicking the button, the link generates a new token and saves it to the local storage. Once the token has been created and saved, the user is redirected to the list view. And for the users who do not have a token already saved in the local storage, they should be shown redirected to the list view. Here are some notes too. And this is like the wireframe. So eventually the welcome homepage will look like the following wireframe. And here is the PNG photo. It's good for your whole team to look at the wireframe now, but be sure that not to try to implement all of the visible functionality at once. There will be future stories to add the other features, such as joining an existing list. And for this story, it's sufficient just to have a simple create list button. Although you are not required to save the token to Firestore, some teams have opted to also save the token to Firestore when generating a token. Cool. Do you have any questions for this task? Does it feel overwhelming a little bit?
Does the task require a button to also clear the local storage?
In the description, it's not required the button to clear the local storage.
Okay.
Any more questions? Is everything clear?
I think I'm new to token things, so I don't know whether it's clear or not. Sorry.
Yeah, just and whenever we show the issues, just hear them once from us, and then when we finish the meeting, you can go through all of them, and if you have questions, you can write us on Slack anytime.
Sure.
Like you can come up with things you don't understand later on also. So
yeah.
cool. So this was the first issue. There is also another issue. That is the issue number 4. As a user, I want to add a new item to my shopping list so I can start recording purchases. A shopping list item consists of the following data points: the name of the item, how soon are you likely going to buy it again, like soon in the next 7 days, kind of soon in the next 14 days, not so soon in the next 30 days, and the last purchase data. The requirements here are that the user is presented with a form that allows them to enter the name of the item and select how soon they anticipate needing to buy it again, like soon, kind of soon, and not soon. When the user submits the form, the item is saved to the database associated with the user's token. Along with the item name, an integer corresponding to the estimated number of days until next purchase is saved. So for example, say 7 for the soon, 14 for the kind of soon, and 30 for not soon. The last purchase date should be set to now initially. For example, you can create an item without purchasing it. Item names should be displayed as a simple unordered list on a list view after they are added. So you need to display them in an unordered list. There are also some notes here. So the first one, like always, is the wireframe. So this is wireframe, like the smart shopping list, the name of the item, how soon you are going to buy by clicking on it and adding the item. Then eventually it will be something like this when it's populated with information, with data. So like the name of the things that you want to buy. And then there are also two notes. It's good for your team to look at the wireframe now, but not to be sure to implement all of the visible functionality, because as we said also in the last issue, that some stories will, some features will implement it later on. And for this story, it's sufficient just to get a simple list of items displaying.
Yeah, as Bella mentioned, it's so it's a good idea to view the actual like wireframe, but just follow the ACs and try to implement a little bit of CSS, because as you know, the last 3 weeks we will be working on specifically on styling and designing the applications.
I have a question. Stacy already mentioned earlier about how different teams can be. So if you have a certain project that you're working on, it can have obviously implications for the project of another team. And I'm wondering with this one, so one pair of us is going to set up the shopping list, and the other pair will make sure that items can be added to the shopping list. So I'm wondering, should the pair that's working on add item wait for the pair that's setting up the shopping list? So I'm wondering about the, how do you say that? The sequence of the projects. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
That
Makes a ton of sense.
Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Makes a ton of sense, and it's a really good insight. Way to kind of see around that corner a little bit. Yeah. So in this case, yeah, one team is going to be, have a button, creates a token, puts it in local storage. The other team is going to need to use that token, right, to create these items. It's going to have to go into the database alongside the other information about each item. So one way to approach that would be, in the dev tools, you can actually set things in your local storage directly through the dev tools. So maybe if the two pairs just coordinate on what that key is going to be named, so if it's just token or something like that, or shopping list token, whatever the name of the token is, then you could just add, if you were working on the add item screen, you could just add that, some string into that key in local storage that you could just, assume is going to be there later once both issues are merged. Does that make sense? You follow that? So yeah, so you would, say you're working on the add item one, you would just add something to local storage that you would use as the token. Otherwise, just build your functionality. The other team will actually work on the functionality of adding that random token into local storage. But local storage will be, they feed it into local storage and you're pulling out of local storage. When both issues get merged in production, everything should work together.
Okay, yeah.
And if if it's not clear how to add stuff to local storage directly, like we can, your mentors can coach you through that part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. So which is the pair that is going to take the issue number 4, so I can assign them directly? Oh.
So the pairs are Zashi and Avi, and the other pair is Nadinda and Claire.
Nadinda, what do you think about issue 3?
Oh wait, did we lose her? Is she not on the call now?
Yeah, I think she's on the phone.
She must have, maybe she had to go.
Well, I think I might make an executive decision for issue 3 then.
Okay.
Nice.
So here then is Abby, right? With issue 4.
My username is Sponberry, SPONBERRY. In hindsight, I really wish that I would have made it my name, but
And this is yours.
Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. So for the issue 4, we have assigned, and now for issue 3. It's Nadinda and what is your username, Claire? You are muted.
It's Black Bureau.
Perfect. Okay, so also for you, issue 3, we have the assigned.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. Great job, everyone.
Nice job, team.
Yeah.
That first week, there was a lot of learning about how to do the process and how to look at PRs and do code reviews and stuff. So now things will start ramping up a little bit more in the code area. So just do know that if you have any questions at any time, to just be really loud in Slack. Somebody else probably has that question too. And we're totally here for you. Like if you have the question about how to manually add tokens to your local storage, just ask. We're all here to help. Anything else? Good. All right.
All right.
See y'all around Slack.
Cool.
Oh,
thanks, everybody.
Chiamaka,
thank you, everyone.
yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention, Chiamaka, you have an office hour. It's coming week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could post it. Never mind. Okay, sorry. Bye, everyone.
Okay, see you later.
See you soon.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.